Hello, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi. Can you please share my experience with the rest of the world? My story goes like this. There was a time when lockdown had just started, like before the borders were closed. I had a boyfriend who was in South Africa. So in the beginning of our relationship, this guy was claiming to be a South African. But when I had finally met him in South Africa, that is when I realized that this guy was not a South African at all. Even up until today, if someone asked me if he was not a South African, then where was he from? I don't even know how to answer that question, because this guy, he spoke a lot of different languages. I mean, like all the languages that are spoken in South Africa, he spoke them fluently, and especially Afrikaans. He could speak that language 100%, but at the same time, it confused me because at times this guy, he could speak fluent French. That is why I don't even understand where this guy was from. But one thing that I am for sure, he was not a South African. So when I arrived at this place, it was a suburb, and there was actually a neighborhood patrol in that area. And if you had no permission to enter into that suburb, the neighborhood patrol actually had the power to arrest you and hand you over to the police. At the gate, there was a lot of armed security guards. There was actually a machine that scanned fingerprints if you were like a visitor. And he told me that the machine that scanned the fingerprints, it was actually linked with the Home Affairs so that they can actually see if this person is legal in the country or if this person is a citizen or not. He told me that in this suburb that he was staying, there were a lot of rich people that were staying there, and most of them, they were from around the world and they were rich. But what bothered me was that this guy, when he picked me up from the airport, he told me that I had to hide in the boot of his car so that when we are entering into the neighborhood where he was staying, the security guard will not see me. At that time, I was so much in love with that guy. When he told me that I had to get into the boot of his car, I never refused. I did as he had told me. I was afraid to say no because it was my first time being in South Africa and everything was just going fast for me, because even when he took my passport, I never even noticed. I was busy looking around because I was excited, thinking that this was going to be my new home. He just said, "Let me see your passport because I want to see when your tourist visa is going to expire, so that I can book another ticket for you," because when I came to South Africa, he booked a flight for me. So I didn't even see him handing my passport to someone. I later thought about this when I had arrived at his house, that actually, while he was picking me up at the airport, there was another guy who was with him. So he handed over my passport to that guy who was with him. Brother Nashi, I was only given my passport after this guy had finished with me. He only gave me my passport, then he demanded that passport back from me. So I spent about 3 months whilst I was in South Africa, and even up until today, I don't even know how South Africa looks like. When this guy just dumped me, he kept telling me to go back to my country. I actually thought that I had wronged him, but now I can see that I was the one who was used by this guy. I don't even know if this guy was a Satanist or not, but the way that he used me, I can't even forgive him. So what this guy used to do to me is that whenever he would want to have sexual intercourse with me, he would tell me to undress myself, and then he would take out this costume. It was a strange costume. Whenever I'll put on this costume, I'll be looking like an animal with horns, more like a goat with horns. And all along, he would tell me to drink a certain kind of a wine that I don't even know the name of that wine. This wine, it was dark red in color. It was almost like blood. Whenever I would drink this wine, I'll be left confused. then I would be acting like a slave to this guy, and he was taking me videos whenever he was having sexual intercourse with me. But in those videos, he never showed his face. He would make sure that in the video, it will be me and me alone. And I don't know why he was taking videos of me whenever he was having sexual intercourse with me. But at that time, I don't know if it was the wine or this guy, he had a spell. He had cast a spell on me, because I feel like I was under his spell. Everything was going well apart from the abuse and the weird things that were happening in his big house. The problem started one day. I don't know what I was looking for. Suddenly, I just looked underneath this couch. Then I saw that underneath that couch, there was a little coffin. It was just a small coffin. When I saw that small coffin underneath the couch, it felt strange and weird at the same time, because there and there, that is when I remembered that whenever this guy wanted to have sexual intercourse with me, it didn't matter if it was in the middle of the night and we would be sleeping in his bedroom. He would violently wake me up, and he would tell me that we had to go to the lounge so that we can do it on top of that couch. That same couch that had a small coffin underneath it. So the day that I saw this small coffin, I was sleeping and he had gone out. I don't know where he had gone, because this guy, he was not working. He just told me that he had a lot of businesses. So most of the times he was always at home. But on that day, when I came across this small coffin underneath that couch, I was just sleeping. When I was sleeping, I had a dream, and I dreamt of a girl, and this girl, immediately in my dream, I knew that this girl was dead. She entered into the house in which I was sleeping. Then she told me to follow her. She took me into this other room that had a big jacuzzi. Then she said to me, "Look over there." She was pointing at that jacuzzi. I walked over to the jacuzzi. That is when I realized that inside that jacuzzi, there was a dead body in there. I was shocked. And then she told me to turn the body around, because this dead body, it had its face facing down in the water. When she told me that I had to turn the body around so that I can see who it was, when I turned that body around that was dead in the water in that jacuzzi, that is when I saw that it was me who was lying dead in that jacuzzi. When I suddenly woke up, I was shocked, because I saw that that guy, he was just standing there looking at me. From that day, he started abusing me more and more. He started beating me up. After this, the abuse was just too much for me. I couldn't take it anymore, because now he was no longer having sexual intercourse with me like through my private parts, but he was now demanding anal sex from me. And it was so painful, because this was my first time doing it, because it was like he was enjoying it when I was screaming in pain. It was so painful. Then there was this other day. Even up until today, I am so confused to what happened on that day, because he just came with his friend, but I ended up having sexual intercourse with his friend. I don't even know what happened on that day. When he came with his friend, he told me that he was going to take a quick shower, so he left me and his best friend. We were just watching a movie on Netflix, but before he had gone to take a shower, he took out a bottle of that same wine, the same wine that he used to pour for me whenever he wanted to have anal sex with me. He poured that wine in the glass, then he handed me that glass of wine, but I only sipped it once, and the next thing, I had blacked out. All that I remember is that I was caught having sexual intercourse with his friend. When he returned from the shower, he saw me on top of his friend. He hit me so bad and he screamed at me. He told me that I had to get out of his house. When he told me that I had to get out of his house so that I can go back to my country, I told him that I wanted my passport, because if you kick me out of your house, and you have not given me my passport. What if those security guards, what if they arrest me? I don't want to be arrested. He said, okay, it's fine. Go and get dressed. I want you out of my house. I want you out of my house. But by God's grace, when I had arrived in South Africa, I had something like $50. So at the airport, I had declared the US dollars. I had been given back the money in the local currency in rands. So he did not know that I had the money. I got dressed up and I took the money. Then he put me in the boot of his car. He told me that the security guards cannot see you because they never saw you entering into this estate. When we were out of the estate, he found a place where he could park. He took me out of the boot of his car. He then started to apologize. He said, the reason why I am always angry, it is because ever since growing up, I used to witness my father abusing my own mother. It reached a point that when I was still a young boy, I witnessed my mother being killed by my father. So whenever I think about the way that my father killed my mother, it just makes me angry. I am so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I love you. So now, how can I prove to you that I am sorry and I want to be your husband? When he told me that he wanted to prove that he is sorry, I thought that God had given me an opportunity to run away. I told him that, please, I just want to visit the mall. At least I can look around at the mall. He told me it is okay. Let us go to the mall, but I am going to be waiting for you in the parking lot. When I asked for my passport because I wanted to run away, he told me that, no, I am not going to give you your passport because if I give you your passport, maybe you won't return back to me. Just go and walk around the mall. Then you come back to me. When I was in the mall, I was just walking around and I was confused. I was afraid to speak with anybody because I thought that if I tell anyone my story, maybe they were just going to get me arrested. So I kept on walking around the mall until I reached this other shop that was called Debonias. I went inside that shop. That is when I had some people who were inside that Debonias shop. They were speaking the same language that I speak, and I knew that they were from my country. I walked into that shop. I asked them where I could find the buses that can take me back to my country. They gave me the directions and I didn't know where exactly I was. As we were speaking, right next to the table where those people were, that is when this other guy, I think he was a Zulu speaking man or a Xhosa speaking man, I don't know because I don't know the language that he was speaking. He approached those people that I was speaking with. Then he asked them why I was injured like that because I had bruises all over. My eye was so swollen. I was actually using my hair to hide my swollen eye. That man asked why my eye was swollen like that, but I was afraid to tell everyone my story. But they just told that guy that I was looking for a bus that could take me back to Zim. Then that guy said, does she have any money for the taxi? And I said, no, I don't have money. Then he said he can actually do an Uber for me. So he actually requested for an Uber. And when the Uber came, I got into that Uber and it dropped me off at the bus station. But still, when I was at the bus station, the money was still not enough. The money that I had was not enough for the ticket. I told everyone that was there at the bus station because I was walking around looking for money so that I can purchase the bus ticket, but there was no one who could help me. Then there was this other guy who was a mechanic. He had his mechanic shop right next to that bus station. So he heard that there was a girl who was walking around looking for money and her money was not enough to buy the bus ticket. Then he came to the bus station and he looked for me. People called me. Me and that guy, we spoke. And he pretended like he wanted to help me. And he told me that he had left his money at his house. And he told me that he had to go with me to his house so that he can give me the money. So we walked out of the bus station, me and that mechanic guy. We went to his house. But when I was at his house, he told me that I had to enter into his house so that he can go and collect the money. I entered into the house, but as soon as I had entered into the house, I didn't notice him locking the door. I only noticed that the door was locked after he had given me the money, because I turned around after saying thank you. And when I tried to open the door, that is when I saw that the door was locked. I asked him, "Why have you locked the door?" And he said, "No, you cannot live like that." And he said to me, "You and I, we are both adults. The door being locked, I'm pretty sure you know what I am trying to tell you. You cannot just live like that. You have to give me something." Then I knew that he just wanted to have sexual intercourse with me. I had no choice, so I agreed. That guy, he slept with me the whole day. Then in the evening, that is when he took me back to the bus station. It was somewhere around 8 p.m. And when we were at the bus station, after he had bought the ticket for me, he came back to the car and he told me not to tell anyone. He just said, "You and I, we are both adults. You gave me something and I gave you something." After that, he gave me that bus ticket. Then I got onto the bus. I never spoke with anyone. That is how I returned back home. Even today, this story hurts me, my brother. I keep asking God. I've been trying to look for this guy on Facebook, but I just realized that it seems as if he has blocked me on his Facebook, and I think maybe he has deleted his Facebook. And actually, on Facebook, he was actually using his ghost account, because on his Facebook account, it was only written baseline on his name. There was no surname. He had no profile. He had no profile picture. He had no friends. His profile was just empty. So the day that he proposed love to me, I felt for him. And that is when he came out into the open. He told me that he was a wealthy guy. He had inherited all of his wealth from his parents. That is why he never posted any pictures on Facebook, because he was looking for true love, and he had found true love in me, because I had loved him without ever knowing that he was wealthy. His app number just got deleted, because when I ran away, he just texted me on WhatsApp, and when I opened his chat, he had just written the message like, "I know what you have done." Then he sent an emoji, and the emoji that he sent, it was an emoji of a coffin. Then he just blocked me. I don't know if he blocked me or he actually deleted his WhatsApp account. So I replied saying, "Please, can I have my passport back?" And by the time that I replied him, I think it was already too late, because the messages never went through. At that time, I was afraid to call him, thinking that maybe he was going to track me. But when I got back here in Zimbabwe, I got seriously ill. Then I went to the hospital. I was told that I had an STI, but I was given some medication. Now I have recovered. I am always afraid of what I saw there. And I am still young, Brother Nashi. This happened when I was only 22 years old. I haven't told anyone my story. The day that I arrived at his place, that same night, he took out a contract and he said, "Let us sign a blood contract." He then took something that looked like an injection. Then he took my blood and he drew it with that injection thing. Then he just put the blood on the paper. But what worries me the most is that I don't remember taking his blood with that thing that looked like an injection. It is only I that signed that blood contract. And he even got me tested for HIV, but he only had one home tester with him, and he only tested me. There was a time when I wanted to kill myself here at home. Brother Nashi, I can't even finish my story because already I am crying. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from that young girl. Quite a sad story. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.